It was bad.
Yeah,
the way
to say poto.
And I was surprised. Say you to me contain. Yeah, all of a sudden, as a granny. Paini be ana or Timachika say or more be a free gate and I say there be more take it, but that place is cordon off. I don't know how mutum break the into the cordon or mobile be flood but Yanko Padom BBNC but the non chrese Nuntino all was well. That aspect should be dealt with and I'm very confident say Miami Yambo Fankra will take notice of that. He's the manager of the facility and sure say Sadeno it be
NCBO. Mamintie will colleague on Black Stars. I'm saying about Obeka Black Stars.
Black Stars no. Binuya Ekasa no Osei adia ba ko a eba beboa oman apart from the bonofo nankasa ye ene Mahama Cares. Na se wankasa utimi fa policy na udi obi policy a waye no hu sika ese wo de ba be financial policy ne dia ene senka mamu ne de ka emre sa
den NHIS funding kaka no CD to Osi kakra funding ni bia wo be CD to
no
other sources can
in the other sources
Obi specific 20%. So how could 20% be 100% funding?
By force friend say donations no. That church the amount NHIS workers. Chom say it's still
for the fund?
Oh yes.
By force donations from Waimo.
The NHI friend say staff.
Oh, some of them. In fact, Obi, but we share donations are ebemwa. Now we share the NHI staff say almost voluntarily Can you? That's exactly the point. But Obi, nobody is bound. Nobody is bound.
Legally you can't want someone yanka. Now you when you cry out here, you may say, Tiaka Mama, Amaka, who 2 means over Casa, Undia, Obi need to me. Hey, Obi say, Ghana bar. More yet contribution with donation. Yes. Na yesi obi entry away na who feel say
by 4
how can that be by 4
but you see enka mon now so keke na the open on family
yet your more source without their consent
mesre obi that is not the case no there is opt out clause who person opt out means a person the two person yet free or salary my person who akutua na yen so I mean there is nothing compulsory about it. Mr. Say, and on the infanto, and nothing honorable. We as members of parliament, Yankasa, your constituency, have facilities, they have challenges. You be being farmwa. I think, as members of parliament, your responsibility say, you know, contribute to Ediako. Now, will be the now came and want to say, you were in parliament, sitting in parliament on that day. Pass a bill. It was unanimous
on the Mahama case.
So issues are Busa say MPP for no including him or into health administration.
Health committee.
And also say the papa ama nyina gitumu. And I'm surprised that you too much you need this clause. Say 20% from NHI. That was debated. Obi, it was raised on the floor. It was one of the points of contention. You debated. The health minister explained, the health committee, you debate, you agreed. 80 Obi, Marco court, my examinations, cross examinations, and as a meeting, you raise issues, mu debating at the end of the day, Munina Mujitum we are issue na raise, does it resurface again? No. Because you can, if you abstain on that grounds, because if I'm convinced, said this clause is not good, but majority or every reason to abstain. Say I'm abstain from vote. You have every reason. You are members at the committee. Obi at the committee level, health committee. Health committee. Most returning unanimous verdict. More committee report more
unanimous.
Unanimous.
No, it wasn't.
It was unanimous.
From the committee, we had flagged that contribution. We flagged it.
It came in your discussions, but final conclusion.
We flagged it.
You flag it in the deliberations, but conclusion of the report. Obi me copy. More return a unanimous verdict to year. Plenary. Mo amoko tena asemo. MPP for women this wo makwagia tum say ade we ya de papa. Ebesre parliament say parliament nyina enkamom anyintum. Na yagia atum. And I think say
NHI communication me baba me wedi. Omo headline of voluntary.
No, you can parliament committee.
I think all refer to the workers no.
Okay. Voluntary.
Okay.
Contribution details for Ghana Medical Trust Fund Mama Care NHI support initiative. Dear colleagues, warm greetings once again, and thank you for your continued commitment to the Bahama Cares Fund mobilization effort. Further to our earlier communication, we are pleased to share the official short code for submitting your voluntary contributions to the Ghana Medical Trust Fund Bahama Care Initiative. Payment options: contribution code short code *929 *20 hash, or account name NHI claims account. Bank Ecobank and account number naba and that phase so there's a payment link in so payment reference, your full name, staff ID, optional but encouraged for tracking.
Yes. Good.
Option,
but
it is encouraged for tracking.
There be Obi for identification. For identification purposes. Me say Abia. Obi Abia staff of an NHIS. So now Miss Mama research assistant on co bank in Kutuya. She cannot say me din my identity in Kanwa. How would they know say this particular person?
So suggested contribution. Suggested minimum contribution. Band 1 staff 100 Ghana, band 2 staff 200, band 3 staff 300, band 4 staff 400, band 5 staff, other managers and assistant managers 500 Ghana cedis, district principal senior managers 1,000 cedis, deputy director 3,000, directors 5,000. Contribution period now through July 31st, 2025. Please note, all contributions are voluntary. You are encouraged to contribute what you can. Every effort is deeply appreciated.
Obi, that is why I'm a honorable. I was on one case I had the understand. Voluntary is underlined, and Obi, that goes to God. That goes to
voluntary, but that goes to you are encouraged
for tracking purpose.
No, for tracking here, providing you are staff ID. Okay. But even that, I say no cry. But Obi, who them the Amba and NHIS for non so get involved. They know pressure a war NHIS.
Yes.
Because as we speak, omunya and absorb non-communicable diseases in India. But they can't because of resources and say initiative be about a bit take a non-communicable no a free SHNHS so ama better than forma. They support because doc on him means that on the first person I may expect to say and can say initiative will be praised. Because will be over 40% of our compatriots
there's no
every
doubt
year
about that.
Over 40%. And treatment cost. Nenya diketu obi. Say obi enya kidney problem.
Where they say
stroke, diabetes, and these are non-communicable diseases.
But you don't agree with the point, sir. You don't have to touch NHIS to do another social intervention.
Obi, so if we are looking at the cost of funding the Bahama case, for instance, if it is say 100 million in a year, let me put it that way. Now, only 20 million. Are we not thinking about 80 million now? You're thinking outside the box to bring that in to support the 20 million we take from, because say yes, Bahama care no bad. Some of these diseases are already on the NHIS data. But the bar, omo prioritizing malaria, money, and woman getting away, mona, cano sono, or because they don't have the money.
Bounce the difference. They don't say NHIS is not funding 20% of the total amount we need for Bahama care. So, 20% of NHIS receipt.
Yes.
And a year, Bahama, which is big. And yeah, it was unlike what you explained. So say Bahama case here 100 million. NHIS famu 20 million. No. It is the NHIS total receipt here 500 million. Omuti no 20% e dia Mahama.
Obi asem say waso wawadia Obi toplet.
Obi 20%
toplet.
Every NHIS no. It is also taking the burden of Omwa non-communicable diseases and a burden not that NHIS no. I move to Mahama case. It will rather lessen the burden, and in fact, share number of people are be free NHIS so a benefit to Mahama case. It doesn't. I mean, what the 20%? No, probably it would have been about 40-50%, but 20%. And thinking outside the box, using the goodwill of President Mahama and this government, attracting a lot of donations. In fact, before I pass a bill, no Kraman act, no donations had already started flowing in from security agencies and a lot of individuals. It has nothing to do with it. So the goodwill, as I do, we want Mestre about Pomudia Sema, minim. Said we are passionate about healthcare delivery.
Another means of finance.
The papa.
Because that 20
sources of funding about 6 different sources. Why are you hitting on only one source?
Only any time. Very well. Because Minority Caucus in Parliament issue statement. Almost say statement by the minority on the remand of Mr. Kwame Bafo-Abronye and the growing culture of political persecution and abuse of power. In the first 3 paragraphs, the Minority Caucus expresses grave concern over the arrest and remand of Mr. Kwame Bafo-Abronye, popularly, the Bono Regional Chairman of the NPP. Mr. Bafo was arraigned before the Accra Circuit Court today and remanded into police custody until Friday, 12 September 2025, on 2 charges of alleged offensive conduct conducive to a breach of the peace, unquote. The circumstances surrounding Abronye DC's arrest and detention reveal a disturbing pattern. The government is increasingly weaponizing the judicial system against perceived opponent. This vague and overly broad application of the law falls far short of international standards of legal specificity. Even more troubling, his arrest follows attempts to seek political asylum in 8 countries, citing persecution and threats to his life. The denial of bail and his remand clearly suggest punishment, not justice. This case is not isolated. We see a deliberate and systematic campaign to suppress dissent. Journalists, social commentators, and opposition figures harassed through arbitrary arrest and detentions. State security deployed to intimidate citizens who expose corruption or question government narratives. A climate of fear where ordinary people hesitate to exercise their constitutional right to free expression. Such orchestrated persecution is a betrayal of the democratic principles upon which Ghana was founded. The Minority Caucus stands in solidarity with all voices of dissent and affirms their right to hold government accountable without fear of persecution. And they go on to touch on the Benyiri humanitarian crisis, which is in the Savannah region. And Omasan so I draw the attention of the police on the petition forwarded to them from the NPP on the threat of life. On another threat of death on Osahin Alexander Kwame Afenyo Makin, Frank Anodompre, and Henry Nana Boache. And the minority concludes in this statement by saying, the Minority Caucus reiterates that this government has abandoned its constitutional obligations, choosing instead the path of authoritarian consolidation, judicial persecution, executive overreach, economic manipulation, and security failures have converged into a perfect storm that endangers both democracy and development in Ghana. We remain resolute in our commitment to uphold the rule of law, protect human rights, and restore public trust in our democratic institutions. Ghana's democracy is too precious to be surrendered to fear, intimidation, and authoritarian excesses. This is signed by Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, 2nd Deputy Minority Whip, MP, Weija Gbawe constituency. Ain't Honorable Stuttgart? It doesn't look good for this government. Said the minority enumerating now and Neoma indeed. Akoso, and some of them we know say they are Ekoso. It doesn't look good.
Obi, I think human rights abuses everywhere. Irrespective of the government of the day. And I'm very consistent along that path. Over the years, I've been very clear on these issues. And abuse will be right, and now, mum specific cases are raising. Time I working kind we na mene Alexander Ekosiise On Asempa.
Yes.
Twetwen komo. Say aban bayi obi what say ya to nsa afre honorable say wakasa ti obi in the past anas aban bayi enti omra meyi ne ho ano. What be da? Obi wo share wadwuma asi platform kese awiase afana nyina utrase kasa a shape the course of this country. What is it? Another posifo ana bamum panfo bi atonsa afro say waka asembia wan kan yenti beyiwa
Dabi.
Enti yenye draw line clearly between responsible expression of freedom yewo. We have freedom of speech, but freedom so no and so our responsibilities attached. Specific reference to Miaminia Abronya the case Yama minority a release statement. We will be one kasa nimno. Minim say wadamfo unim said ye yenu Abronya ye the politics. Obekaya 2018 na oye vice chairman ma bona hafo. Enti tema ye create regions no ye chemu into 3 no. The chairman nanka se Fribono East. Indi automatically na chese ono abaye chairman wo Bono side. Ena ye co-election that time no na NDC as a political party ye only one MP in a region no. Yura Ahmed Ibrahim was the only NDC MP in Bono region
out of 12
constituencies. Ye co-election no. Ye benya 6, ye nya 5 kan ho. Inti ye beye 6 for 2020. And MPP for sign koto omo aba 2022. No omo sign elected Abronye as the chairman. Inti 2024 no. Ye signed the another 5 be kan ho. Ena yakọ 11.
And is your one
pe. Ye Canada moa German South.
Okay.
Enti na no na NDC for no bi kasa nka 2026 omoko omo regional yi anka monsan ento ma no. Na nka 2028 oye chairman a ebia na wa na aka no so kra na.
Is there MPP caucus in parliament for Bono region?
Single do a one man caucus. And I share boundary with him. Miaminia Canada moa.
Oh, okay.
One man caucus Bono.
So you Ahmed so the net here. Ahmed the net.
Benedictia. On one caucus chairman. Caucus secretary, caucus treasurer, caucus organizer. It must be very tough for him.
Yes.
But you are met na or ye one man caucus you say them now no are ready to leadership of parliament. Okay. Now minority no or ye deputy minority whip. Intina ahoden wo kakra. Be Canada mama no bre. That is just by the way. Yenua Abronye obi anim the track record. Let's be very honest. Say minua nsema Abronye keken. Enya de a wo beka sansem no. And hypocrisy was a statement we mu say nipa bi persecute Abronye within MPP. In fact nansan one Canada Japan camp noma ekoso and persecution en noma ekoso Abronye side no President Mahama. ensema oketia yewura Kennedy Japan ensema oketia ya papa Duncan Williams mo ne mpanyimfo ewo man yimu na nadoma hene mo ne mpanyimfo atitiro bebre no enye against President Mahama. Enti as young politicians obi media futu a metu ne se eya yenhwe yekasa mu yie, especially in the advent of technology. Asembia beken bia no will be living with you for the rest of your life. Enti mesre se abronya asema yeken yade a obi anim menka se so nye boni bia yentiatia ne fa hodie so ba media futu a mede be ma ne se yenyina besua lessons. There are a good number of young guys aban sisa ye invite you bia. There are a number of people who are doing forcefully. You invite you bia ne the minua maybe the last 20 minutes the way all punchy aban criticize more alternatives near the obi any ho be frɛ no. So you can make your point without insulting. To the extent they say just unnecessary allegations being person meko into exact words nipa no use. So let us learn from some of these things. Na yenhwe say political temperature no ye be low one. Obi ye kan there are a good number of discerning listeners ewo ho. Me ankasa metumi wie program. Me wo nipa bitumi frame say I don't punch enough because they expect you to maybe probably insulting, raising your voices, but I don't agree. Said that is the way to go. Party based in grassroots. Party grassroots to for bebre ho ko munya ya oto fire na omani age. But there are middle class people discerning who also listen very well to the argument. No, it makes sense. So I think say yenye measured in our criticisms. Now the choice of language you be use no yenye because e be follow it forever. And people who do that sometimes you be used and done because they do adwuma bi ese ye do ya omobeka say image a waka no enye image betumi dia yes adwuma no na akwaya asema me papa si edu nketia ka kire say John abre omoba aban mu omo cheche positions no nya bi na say John ni sanadam for power free chairman general na chairman general radio sem so fidie so kra no ka say John aye say wala tu wala sano ye de wo change no ye de kwan no wie na ye de asphalt gusu e na be dwi kwan ya tutu nua ye bibia ye wie na ye de asphalt gusu na o person ko ya park wasi se o fa kwan no so a o be say no enti ye very very careful about this as young politicians. People may want to use you to achieve certain goals, but at the end of the day they will dump you because image ya waka no opportunity be by say ye do ya into me. This is a lesson to us. But for me, enye no krese aban we ewo orchestrated plan say obe silence discerning voices. No, you know President Mahama and his tolerance in terms of media criticisms or absorbing, in fact, perceived harsh critics. President Mahama she or welcome more. So this is not President Mahama. Mo pese mo painting picture say aban we silence and American what voices have been silenced and Obia silence of voice
Obia means silence
because you are not insulting Obi. I think say
TikTokers fancy comedy
so you the fancy comedy mo nse mo kan would you say that me busa Obi who interestingly the who ni say nipa no ankasa de a onkan sema onka no obi ka for political comradeship nti na akwaye say ye defend ye justify. It is important say ye stay principle to what we believe in and kwaye say ye wa amanyo community say obi ya ade anya obi invite me ko didi atem ko twetwense kan ne ade na ye fro ba bi na ye ka say ye nkobodompem e wo police headquarters is something I find it very difficult because it is not something I believe in. No ntina nipa ekoye arukasem e wo eye ablekuma eye north na anu yi aban we anhye ode omo wo hwe no ma ekoso a wo beka say the against Miami Mame Hawa Kumsen near the obviously MPP was on the losing side on that day in terms of violence. So yes, in the name of NDC or whatever, and they did it mostly against MPP functionaries. Enti abayin bi obeka say where do protect your interests and when election, or let us find a way to protect them. But they've been prosecuted swiftly. People have talked about fines. So to be very honest, I have issues with the quantum. Now me expect to say be bigger than that. But the judges decided. And at least action akoso compared to omo ankasa to me for omo national security twen free ye wey koye rukasem ye de omo court omo police ko omo to me court room eko free. I mean, Obi, that is the highest sin against the rule of law. Say courtroom will be standing trial. Now people were invading to free them. As a lawyer, I think they're very serious. All these things also. But the point I'm making is, me person you be call back. Now you equalize it. The course of Brebi and should not be repeated. And I also want to join forces. Say, now you protected the human rights, freedom of speech, and all those that are enshrined in the Constitution. At the same time, I'm also admonishing young politicians, say, yes, we be very careful about how we exercise these freedoms, because these freedoms also have limits. Responsibilities are accountable.
That's true, Honorable. We say, Obi, kindly address this issue. How come our national team, like the Black Stars, play such a crucial game without any TV station showing it live for Ghanaians to watch? Also, do you remember Jordan Ayew did a similar thing against Coach Akwesi Appiah? He should be advised. How can you disobey your coach like that? I don't know, sir. On TV, and as I stadium, you could see Sana Nebuefu. Me name Sana because of changing, no, and as some other thing, and all complaining about there. It was as if it looked like Omu changing Nana Ompe. By it being so a completely different thing with Nana. Let's exercise way kakra. We say Obi, the recent arrest of individuals criticizing President Mahama's government is something we all must be concerned. These actions undermine Ghana's democracy. As George Orwell once said, quote, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear, unquote. Criticism is a cornerstone of democracy, and hence suppression of freedom of speech can have far-reaching consequences and erode the foundations of democracy. Silencing dissenting voices using state apparatus is archaic. Isaac Esuman, Achimota. Obi, let government know that we, those Ghanaians who are against the Galamsey menace, will not pay the proposed utility tariffs. Tell Nana Jantwa that her government is now in power, so she should tell the president to issue a state of emergency with immediate effect against Galamsey and stop the warnings and press conferences. Bennett A. Danso, Ayawaso, Ga North. Obi, what is the honorable member saying? Is he stating emphatically that the perpetrators of Ablekuma North have been prosecuted? Yes, they have. Ibiana Unte, they have been prosecuted. Oh.
Obey that. Huh? Obey that.
Honorable Unte.
Obey that, Obi. Oh, this good man.
We say, Obi. Listening to what Honorable Stuttgart is saying, does he mean the chiefs in Ahafo and Techiman who fought for these regions to be created do not know what they asked for? Nana Ofori or Papase, and Udiwe are praying. Yadase, Papa. Obi, Black Maria is indicative of tyranny, gloomy arrogance, and devil's humor. No Black Maria for Black Maria for arresting political opponent is very ugly. Still, and Udiwe a brain still, it does say. Obi, does it mean to say the media should set agenda stated by the MP for Achimda. Also, what does it mean to say the media should set the agenda? As stated by MP for Achimda, I think we should always put the interest of the nation ahead of our personal interest. Dr. Bacchus, Salado, Texas, US of A.